We don't come back to this horrible material world. So in the Brahmanda Purana, there is a very interesting story that tells how great Janmashtami festival or this Janmashtami Vrata is that. There is a place called Karusha Desha. Today, of course, the names have changed. In Valmiki Ramayana, we hear this when Lord Ramachandra was traveling with Vishwamitra to Siddhashrama. Nearby Himalayas, they come across this place called Malidan Karusha. So that province of Karusha Desha, there was a king called Chandramukha. He was a king, and he had a beautiful committed wife called Tarangi. Her name, the queen name was Tarangi. She was so devoted to Lord Krishna that even though she was a queen herself and had got hundreds and thousands of servants, maid servants, to assist her and do anything that she orders, but she personally would go to temple of Lord Vishnu, Krishna's temple, and she would personally cleanse the temple. She would clean the temple. She would do all that marjana service. See, the queen herself. And she would not allow anyone else also to come and assist her. She would herself clean, broom, mop, collect the dust and keep it very neat and clean like that. Every day she used to do this. So one day, Shukadeva Goswami was traveling and he came to that place, Karusha Desha. And he visited this temple and he saw, to his surprise, the queen, Tarangi herself was doing this cleaning service. And Shukadeva Goswami asked her, "Oh, my dear Tarangi queen, you are a queen. You're a wife of a great king. You've got so many servants. But I see you yourself doing all the seva. So could you please tell me what is the reason?" Then Tarangi, with great humility, she offered her obeisances to Shukadeva Goswami and said, "My dear Shukadeva Goswami, you are a Trikalagnan. You know everything. But still, for the benefit of others, you're asking me so that I will tell and benefit others. So I will tell you because you're ordering me." She said, "In my previous life," this Tarangi queen, now she started speaking about her Purva Janma, previous life. She said that in my previous life, I was born into the family of a Shudras. And what kind of life she was living? She was born to parents who were hunters in the forest. You see, you hunt animals in the forest, you eat their flesh, and you sell those flesh and skin, and you live like that. Obviously not from the spiritual point of view, not so elevated life. So because it involves killing, it involves meat eating. So from the spiritual progressive point, it is not so elevated. So she said that my father was a very cruel hunter, and I had 4 brothers. They were not just hunters, they were dacoits. They would loot, rob, and sometimes even murder people. This was their job daily. So once my father with my 4 brothers, they attacked Brahmanas who were traveling by. And they caught them and they killed them. And they looted whatever they had. And when the news reached the king of that place, the king got all of them arrested, my father, my brothers, and he put them into jail and gave them very, very torturous punishment for such a heinous act they did. And my mother, she was helpless, and all these 4 people were punished, and they were given this capital punishment by the king. So they all died, and my mother also, out of that grave that she lost everyone, she died. And I was alone. I was a woman, so I was alone. So these soldiers, they took me to some another place, another city, and they sold me off as a servant. Those days they would sell off as a gulam, servant. So they sold me off to somebody, one Brahmana, his name was Sughosha, and I became their servant. So this is how I reached some Brahmana's house. But to my great fortune, the wife of that Brahmana, she told me one day the greatness and the glories of Shree Krishna Janmashtami Vrata. And she told me that if you faithfully follow Shree Krishna Janmashtami Vrata, you will become queen in the next life. That's what she told me. I was very fascinated by that because I was so, downtrodden. I was going through so much of poverty, problems and all that. For me, thinking that, oh, I will become queen. So, and she instructed me how to follow Janmashtami Vrata, and I followed Janmashtami Vrata. In this way, I followed Janmashtami Vrata. And then after my death, suddenly I saw that 4 great illuminating personalities with 4 hands, Vishnu Duta, servant of Lord Vishnu from Vaikuntha, they appeared. And very blissfully, they were smiling, and there was so much of glow on their face. And they very nicely, with so much of grace, they welcomed me into Pushpaka Vimana, and they actually took me to Vaikuntha Loka. But to my surprise, when I reached the doors of Vaikuntha Loka, Vaikuntha Dwara, it was closed. And we heard a Ashariravani. It said that your time to enter Vaikuntha has not come. And then suddenly I saw Yamadutas. So Yamadutas also came with great respect. They welcomed me, and they took me to Yamaraj. And before Yamaraj, I was asked, "Oh, how come I come here?" Then Yamaduta started giving a report to Yamaraj. They said, "My dear Yamaraj, Today we went to bring this sinful Brahmana. His time was about to end, so we went to get him to Yamalok to give him proper punishment. So all those people died simultaneously, so we went. So we put our Yama Pasha. Pasha is a rope used by servants of this Yama. So Yama Pasha, Mrityu Pasha we put. The moment we put around his neck, the noose around his neck, immediately our Yama Pasha got cut into pieces. First time in our life we saw that Mrityu Pasha was cut into pieces. There is nothing in this world that can cut our Mrityu Pasha, the death, the noose around the neck into pieces. We were shocked. And then that the Brahmana was breathing heavily at the time of death. You know, people, they breathe heavily at the time of death. So he's breathing heavily, that heat of his breath started burning our body. We could not stay there. We ran and we came to this place. So could you please tell us why it happened? Why we were not able to touch him? Why we were not able to get him? So then Yamaraj said, my dear servants, you are not able to touch him. You are not able to bring him because he gave shelter to this woman who followed Janmashtami Vrata. Because he gave shelter to stay in his house. This lady who performed Janmashtami Vrata has become so glorious. He has not followed Janmashtami Vrata, but he allowed a lady who followed Janmashtami Vrata in his home. So because of that, you cannot touch him now. He has become recipient of Lord Krishna's blessings. You can only go, do namaskara to him and respectfully bring him. Otherwise, you cannot touch him. And then Yamaraj turned towards this lady and told, my dear lady, you're so nice. You came to our planet to make our planet auspicious. You followed Janmashtami Vrata. You are actually supposed to go to Vaikuntha. That is the result of Janmashtami. But deep within your heart, you have a desire to become queen. That desire is there. Because of that, you could not enter Vaikuntha. Because that desire, material desire is there. Still, I want to be a queen. So please go back. This Brahmana who gave you shelter, who allowed you to stay at home, he will, because he gave you shelter, right? He allowed you to stay at home where you perform Janmashtami Vrata. So as a result of that, this Brahmana has also accumulated so much punya, he will become a king in his next life in the Karusha Desha. And you will appear as a princess, Rajkumari, in the Kosala Desha. And you will marry this Brahmana and you will also become a queen. And when you become queen, you very carefully do this bhakti so that you will not have any material desire, and then you'll go back to Vaikuntha. And your father, who is very papishta, so sinful, and your brothers, as a result of all their sin, they've appeared as pigs. They're roaming around everywhere, eating this stool and dirty things. And you, a great lady, you followed bhakti, you followed Janmashtami. Nanda Kishore Kumar Hari Natvar Bhagya Bihari Govinda